which is a collaboration between me and Donna Chang, who you can see in the video. And so at the beginning, there's an interview. It's between Donna and her mother, Monica, and she's talking about Donna's grandmother and her time in Hong Kong.
What can you tell me about Orange?
My mother is when he grew up is a quite rich family. His father have a big house in the village, and then he go to the big city to do business. My grandfather have three daughter and all girl. So when grandfather suddenly died, and he died early, so leave my mother very young. The village, the people come to say to my mother family, say, no son in the house, so everything take over. Yeah.
Oh.
The uncle, everything come to say, boy in the family, so everything they take. Second daughter give away and they die. Give us somebody they look after.
And so as you can see, there are these oil drums, these cooking oil drums that have been turned into a drum that you can hit with a mallet. And there are imprinted on these drums are these symbols, which is the Chinese characters. They're all different for each drum. There's that one says water. This one says family, and so the other ones say female and work. So the work is about the labour and burden that Donna's mother and Donna have to burden for in today's society because of the gender-based discrimination that was put upon her in Hong Kong and even in today's society. There's also other symbols which are rabbit and horse, so that's the symbol for horse, and horse and rabbit signify the Chinese New Year zodiac animals. So Donna's mother, Monica, is the horse and Donna is the rabbit, the year of the rabbit. So she's trying to bring together the family lineage or the female maternal lineage of her family and signifying the importance of that. So we've got work, family, female, and those symbols are all on there. And so I should also mention that on the inside of these drums are transducers, so little speakers that resonate. So you're meant to walk around and listen to them, and each one's different, and you're meant to explore the installation like that. These are the historical images of that time. So this is in Hong Kong. These are these water pails that they used to use. They actually were these cooking oil drums. And so you can see someone carrying it there with a bamboo stick. There were different types of water pails, but as you can see in the photos, there are these metal ones as well. And so it's really interesting to have this kind of connection between the past and the present. And so discovering these images and these footage and historical things was really interesting, and it definitely fueled the work. Let's see if I can pause it on maybe that one, and so you can see them all lined up in a row like that. So it's actually during the water famine in Hong Kong, so they didn't have water. There was various reasons why there was water famine. It was a particularly difficult time. There was any sort of there was a growing population. There was low rainfall. It was a dry season, and the catchment areas weren't doing anything. So they had real issues with water. So that's what this work is based on. Yeah, it's a quite interesting one in this project. I mean, when you gave me the idea to speak about Inner Compass, I was like, well, I mean, it's kind of my Inner Compass, but actually there's two people in this collaboration. So actually, it's actually a lot about Donna's Inner Compass too. So there are two Inner Compasses. And so the collaboration process was kind of negotiating that. And a lot of the time it's about me stepping aside and letting Donna lead the way, trusting Donna's inner guide. And sometimes I didn't actually know why she made these choices. But then later on, I would then make the connections and sort of see why it was a good idea, and it usually was. But I guess in the Inner Compass generally, I could say that there's really kind of like a felt inner sense of knowing that you don't always intellectually know why you're making these choices, but there's just this inner knowing, this inner wise sort of choices, or in a wise mind of deciding things. So, but when I'm doing that though, I don't think it's that passive. I don't think it's just as simple as that, saying that it's a mystical sense of knowing. I think it actually does require a lot of effort and a lot of research to inform that inner knowing and inner compass. So I'm really drawing on my background, my studies, every single music performance I've seen, every book I've read about music, and just drawing on that to make these decisions, these really micro decisions, which become the work. But there was a distinction I could draw here between Donna's decision making and mine. So I initially wanted the work to be about women's rights in Hong Kong, about feminism, about intersectional feminism, and I really wanted to drive that home. But Donna thought intuitively to bring that back a bit and not to be so full on about the political aspects of this work. And so she much more wanted to draw it back to family, to her family, to story. And I mean, that's sort of Donna's background. She works in films and documentaries and storytelling. So you get that really clear story at the beginning, a real emotional story at the beginning, and then just I guess where I take over and have this composition and experimental music, and I'm hitting the metal in different ways. So you got striking with mallets, rubbing with rubber balls, and scraping and scratching and vibrating. So the speaker itself has a low frequency sound going through it, and that vibrates the metal and has various effects when you move it around the drum skin. There's also dripping from the waters and stuff like that. So it was this raw material, like you said before, about deciding things from the materials themselves and letting the material guide. So the structure of the work is sort of the material. So it goes from every different type of material or way of striking the drum, and it's just a kind of sequence of that type of playing. So there are I mentioned transducers. Transducers are different to speakers. They're both speakers, but the transducer is much more physical. It physically hits the metal and makes a rattling sound. And so there's that. There's also memory. So the piece is very much about memory, Hong Kong. There's the personal context, Donna's personal context of family, but then also the more global historical context of, 1960 to 1980 water famine in Hong Kong. And so we're very much playing with that idea of the past and the present. It's somehow old. It's an old story, but it's very contemporary. It's a contemporary piece of music as well. The eerie silence, I think, is quite potent. There's a lot of silence in this piece too, and I think it really draws, quite dramatic, and it's quite draws you in, and says a lot about the work too, and also the Pacific, the cultural context, Hong Kong and China, and Buddhism, maybe even Buddhism, and more about the human condition, about feeling and sensation and maybe even trauma. So discovery and surprise was also I've already kind of said it, that it was discovery of material. So firstly, coming across these oil drums, they're really interesting things. They like these little chambers that create a reverb or a chamber inside of it, and then exploring the materials, finding the mallets, going to the shops and buying the mallets, exploring different sounds and the speakers. So that's discovery and surprise. Also discovery and surprise of the history. That was very interesting. So for instance, there was, in the 1990s, there was the female inheritance movement. And so they're drawing on Monica's story of not being able to get inheritance because she was a woman. So in the 1990s, there was this female inheritance movement, and they advocated for giving the inheritance to women in the 90s, whereas previously they weren't able to do that. All the inheritance went to males. And so that's what the story was about. And to find that context, that there was a huge movement and they were successful, was so great to see. And in the context of the Now You Hear Her festival, that was just perfect for that, to advocate for women, advocate for great women, and the gender-based discrimination that was part of that story as well, and advocating for that.